Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is TCGplayer.com. I am Conley Woods, and I'm bringing you another brew. This one, I did a 12-hour stream the other day to commemorate having 4,000 followers on Twitch. And towards the latter half of the stream, I decided to get in a brewing mood and did a sort of live brew on stream and worked my way towards this sort of aura-based Helm of the Gods deck. And really, it started off of I had moused over an old black-white Helm of the Gods deck that I posted on TCGplayer, and most of the cards had rotated, things like Underworld Coinsmith and stuff. But I wanted to see what could be done with the card given current tools, and I started searching, and one of the cards I came upon was Sage's Reverie, which is a pretty exciting card text box-wise, because you draw a bunch of cards based on the number of auras you control, and then you get +1/+1 on whatever creature you put this on based on how many auras you control. And that is not auras on that particular creature, it is auras on anything. So I was like, well, let's take a look at what auras are in the format. And if you just do like a search for auras, you're going to come up a little bit short. We'd have some real auras in this deck, like Pacifism, Singing Bell Strike, and the Reveries themselves. But if you just do a search for auras, what you're going to miss out on are the forms. And the forms are not auras naturally, but they become auras when you cast them. So I'm talking about light form and cloud form. So both these are just regular enchantments. So if you just searched on, your favorite search engine for auras specifically, you're going to miss out on both these cards. But they both have huge interactions with Reverie. Not only are they an aura themselves, but they give you a flying creature in both instances. One of which has lifelink, which is insane when you're getting bonuses off the Reverie or Helm of the Gods, and the other one has hexproof, which again is insane if you're wanting to cast a Reverie on it or move a Helm of the Gods onto it, just because your creature's way more likely to live when you have hexproof, and your creature's way more likely to win a race against an aggressive deck or a mid-range deck when you have lifelink. So after I kind of searched for all of the enchantments in the format, blue-white seemed to make the most sense. You get some powerful cards alongside the 8 forms. You get cards like Reflector Mage, which is just naturally a strong card right now in the environment. It's just a strong card, period. You get Seeker of the Way, which is another source of lifelink. When you have a lot of power-boosting things, such as Helm of the Gods and Sage's Reverie, it's good to have ways to multiply the rewards that they give you. And lifelink does that. So we have it in the form of Light Form and Seeker of the Way, which just lets you crush on aggro decks, let you pull you back from the brink of a loss. Very, very powerful cards. Rounding it out, of course, I needed some removal, so I looked at things like Stasis Snare because they're just rawly powerful, but it's not an aura, so I wanted to see how far I could stretch the aura theme. Even as far as the end of my stream, I was still running Silk Wrap in the main deck and Suppression Field in the main deck over some number of these pacifisms, but the more and more I looked at it, pacifism was performing basically the same duty. Yes, there is some issues like Rattleclaw Mystic and the fact that they can still keep leveling up their oh, I have a different art pacifism here. That's loose. I'm gonna fix that. They can still level up their Hangerback Walker and then eventually kill it with something else and get a bunch of tokens. Singing Bell Strike does stop that, so there is some benefits to Singing Bell Strike over pacifism. You might be wondering, why one or the other, but that is partially why. Also, I originally just had 2 Singing Bell Strikes, even, that's not what I want to do. I want to show all versions. I originally had just 2 Singing Bell Strikes, even when I didn't have 4 pacifism, so I think the card has merit on its own. Alright, let's just cut all these, because I only have 3 of those. We'll just add 4 of the same picture at least. Alright. But yeah, Pacifism is an aura. Bell Strike is an aura. Both of these serve very similar roles. They don't deal with pure utility creatures, but they do deal... Well, Singing Bell Strike can, actually. Singing Bell Strike deals with, like, a Rattleclaw Mystic just fine. It's not going to deal with something with a passive effect, kind of like a Kalidas or whatever, who's going to be making zombies still and exiling your stuff. So you don't get to deal with that, which kind of sucks. But at the same time, the aura benefit of staying in play and helping Reverie is really what I want to kind of focus on now, because I was enjoying that synergy a lot. It's possible that Reverie is too cute. It's so far I don't think it has been, and that's why it's made the deck. I've actually done some trimming on this, but it is possible this card's too cute. It has the elements of a card that can be win more looking or can be situational looking, so we need to pay attention to that. But so far, it's been kind of the perfect piece to fill in to draw you 2 to 4 cards, to make a big flyer, in addition to Helm of the Gods. It kind of serves multiple roles of other things in the deck that we really rely on. Like Helm of the Gods is an effect we would play more than 4 copies of, and Sage's Reverie kind of gives us that additional version of that, while also providing card advantage and another enchantment for the deck. But assuming Reverie is worth it, and I think right now it is, the pacifisms I think are probably worth it over something like Suppression Field or Silk Wrap, just because being an aura is awesome. It just translates to another card for us later on. Also, it does prevent things like comes into play effects from coming back if they do blow it up with some type of removal later on. Granted, the flip side of that is that if you exile something like a Hangerback Walker, it would normally come back into play with 0 counters and be irrelevant. And in the pacifism world, it obviously is growing that entire time. And if they eventually deal with pacifism, you're in some big trouble. So there is benefits on both sides. In general, I think Suppression Field and Silk Wrap are slightly stronger cards, which is why they see standard play. But when you have a reason for this to kind of tip the scales a little bit, I think it does. Same with Bellstrike. So all those cards are pretty obvious. We still have a couple pair of Stasis there in here just to deal with anything. And again, we have the Reflector Mages. So we have some varied removal. So we're not like all in on these particular effects. But these tend to deal with all the 2 and the 3 drops just fine. Your Anafensas, your Siege Rhinos, your 2/3 Vigilance guy. Again, you're not going to turn off his lands get +2/+2 ability, but otherwise you're pretty good. Speaking of lands, we do run into some issues with creature lands in this deck because we only have 2 Stasis Snare, so that is something that we need to pay attention to. I currently don't have any additional Stasis Snares in my sideboard, but it might be something I want to look into. So that's worth noting. We can always leave a big creature back on defense, but they can be annoying, especially if you do have like a guy giving +2/+2 sticking around. Other cards in the deck, basically talk about everything except for Myth Realized, which is kind of a sort of linchpin card in the deck. It provides an aggressive body, it provides a defensive body, it provides you use for your mana when you get a little bit flooded. It gives you a pretty sustainable creature. It's not going to die to a lot of the various removal out there. It's typically strong against burn spells because of how big it gets. It's strong against all sorcery speed removal because that basically never kills it unless you activate it on their turn. It's obviously strong against wraths and things of that nature. And you're basically looking at things like Utter End, Abzan Charm as like big culprits for this card, and that's not a ton of things. And also, if they're using their removal on this, they're not using it on something like Seeker of the Way, which has lifelink, or your Light Form, which has lifelink, and those kinds of things tend to be more important. But you apply a little bit of pressure with your Myth Realized. It triggers Seeker of the Way really smoothly. It pumps at Helm of the Gods really smoothly. It actually works with Helm of the Gods better than you would think. Paying 2 mana to have a 9/9 or a 10/10 is not that much upkeep cost. So a lot of times people get turned off by the idea of, I have to keep activating and equipping. But equip cost of 1 and an activation of 1 here makes that play pretty cheap. Some amount of the time you'll even activate your Myth of the Realized and play like a Reverie on it just to draw some cards. Obviously you're going to lose the Reverie at the end of the turn, so this is not like a super high value play, but it does come up every once in a while. Yeah, this card has been very strong. Hopefully we'll get to see some of that today. The mana base is pretty much straightforward. There's one card that I probably will end up cutting by the end of this video, but I'm going to keep giving it a shot, and that's Blighted Cataract. I'm just using it as a random draw turn here. Aside from that, just a bunch of duels. 4 Tranquil Cove, because it's the second best white-blue dual land right now. 4 Prairie Streams, because it's the first best white-blue dual land right now. 8 fetches, 4 of which are Flooded Strands, of course, 2 Polluted Deltas, and 2 Windswept Heaths. So a bunch of ways to get Prairie Streams. 3 plains, 2 islands. Mostly just 2 islands, so we can always have basics to fetch for Cloud Form. But we obviously don't have a very heavy blue commitment in the main deck. We have some more blue cards in the sideboard, but that's fine. And then the only kind of specialty land we really are running is 2 Foundry of the Councils. The real purpose of this card is to help prevent us from getting mana flooded a little bit, but also provide us a couple of threats. If you look at our creature count, we actually only have 8 creatures, Granted, that's a lie basically because we have 12 additional creatures in Myth Realized, Light Form, and Cloud Form. All those are creatures as well. So we do have more than 8, but this kind of solidifies our count even further, gives us some instant speed creatures to throw into play. They fly, so they interact with Sage's Reverie and Helm of the Deep. Or I keep calling it Helm of the Deep. I named my deck Helm's Deep in case anybody hasn't noticed that, because I went deep on Helm of the Gods. So I was, but yeah, Helm of the Gods. It works well with that, obviously, because they have flying. So it's in here. It was in testing so far. It's actually been pretty strong. So I'm inclined to leave it. We might even add a third one if Blighted Cataract doesn't work. This could also become a basic land, another basic plains or something. The sideboard, always one of those things that's not fully tested yet, so we're going to be messing with it. But we have some cards against the random token decks and the Rally the decks. 2 Hallowed Moonlight. I mean, there's not much you can do against those decks other than Hallowed Moonlight out of our deck. So the other option would be what is it called? It's the 4-mana enchantment from Dampening Pulse. That's what I'm thinking of. -1/-0. It does stuff. It works. I don't think it's very efficient, so I haven't added it. But we have 2 Hallowed Moonlights right now. 3 Master the Unseen is kind of our anti-control card to back up Myth of the Realized. Or not Myth Realized. So then we just have a bunch of creatures coming out of nowhere. And of course, this being enchantment is awesome for our deck. This producing creatures to equip Helm of the Gods and Sage's Reverie on is awesome. So does good things for us. A little slow against most decks, so that's why I don't have it main. Starfield next we have as a 1/of. Its second ability to turn all your enchantments into creatures is actually not that great in our deck. Myth of the Realized becomes a 1/1. The auras don't change, so Pacifism, Singing Bellstrike, Light Form, Cloud Form, and Reverie don't change, and then Stasis Snare becomes a 3/3, which is a win, but that's only 6 cards in the deck that become things, and Myth Realized becomes something small and vulnerable, so it's not even very good. So in general, you don't actually want that ability. The thing you are looking to do is just grind some card advantage back with it. So you return your Cloud Form back into play, now they have to kill it again. You return your Reverie back into play, you draw some cards. You return your Myth Realized back into play and you start ramping that up. You lock down another creature with the pacifism after they raft it. Whatever you need to do. So that's its real purpose. It's a 1/of, it's slow. It's supposed to come down after everything else has kind of been grinded out. But it is strong in those grindy matchups. Pair of Quarantine Fields to give us basically stasis snares for everything. So the idea here is just, are they a heavy planeswalker deck? Do they have some weird enchantment or artifact that I need to deal with? Pair of Quarantine Fields just helps out there. Much slower than all the other removal we can use, so we don't want these in the main. 1 copy of Silk Wrap to help us out with token strategies. I've been playing against a lot of that online. This might want to just be another copy of Stasis Snare to help out with creature lands. So we'll see if that's something that we'll notice today. 1 Illusory Gains, kind of a wacky card. I'm just giving it a shot. Other decks have used it pretty well, so I figured we might as well. It's an aura for all of our purposes. It steals big creatures, especially against creature light decks. Excuse me. So I'm giving it a shot. It's a 1/of. We can easily end up cutting it if we need to. Pair of Disdainful Stroke for against like various Abzan decks, various Gramp decks. Pretty self-explanatory. And then 3 Stubborn Denial. I had Negates in here, but I think Stubborn Denial just works better. We have so many things that get up to 4 power. Whether it's Seeker the Way, needs 1 more spell before it to get there. We have Helm of the Gods to basically turn something into it at all times. Myth Realized will usually be a 4/4. Anything with Sage's Reverie is obviously going to be big as well. So, and even when that doesn't work, just having a 4 spike is fine. So, that is the deck. Pretty simple and straightforward, actually, in terms of approach. We're an aggressive tempo deck. So, we'll see if we can get some good games in today. And I'm probably not going to enter this in a league. I'm probably just going to play some 2-mans because we might want to make some changes as we go along. That's something I was going to be open to. But, yeah, sit back and enjoy, and we will be back for round 1. I am Conley Woods. This is TCGplayer.com, going deep with Helm of the Gods.